Good morning, December 6th, 2018. Next week's finals week. I'm coming down to the end. This is my 11th video in 11 days. I could do it every day, but there's no way I could sustain it. I got too much other work. But reality is, it is time to share philosophy, and I appreciate everybody coming and seeing, and I'll still post as I go. But yeah, break time's coming, so I may disappear for a while here and there. Need to. Nonetheless, today I want to talk about Martin Heidegger, basic writings. This is a collection of his work. Heidegger's biggest work is Being and Time. It's a notorious book where he talks in the abstract about Dasein, self that knows self and sees and recognizes self is Dasein. And Sein and Zeit is the name of the book, Being in Time. And that's what those words mean, Sein and Zeit. And it's Sein and Zeit is the way they would say it. Nonetheless, pronounce it phonetically always works, by the way. If you can't pronounce a word, pronounce it in 3 letters at a time. It'll come out. You'll figure it out phonetically, usually. Even a Greek word. I digress. Nonetheless, what I'm interested in Heidegger today is a text, an essay of his. There are 3 in particular that need to be read. None of them are that long. And what I want to talk about is building, dwelling, thinking. It's only about 11, 12 pages long, and I think the other 2 are about that. The main one is what calls for thinking. What calls for thinking would be the first essay. The question concerning technology would be the second essay. And that's where he looks at technology with respect to our being on the earth and what industry and technology has done to us. Or helped us and hurt us, what it's done to us as existence, as essence and existence, as humans on this, and individuals especially. And then, of course, building, dwelling, thinking would be the third essay you want to read. And you'll get a pretty good picture of how humans dwell on earth. Heidegger tells us in Building, Dwelling, Thinking that it is in Buon, a way we dwell to dwell. The German word is Buon, and it goes from bauen. And he also looks again, the word Nachbar, neighbor, comes up, because he wants to talk about the people who dwell in the country. He says that the truck driver is at home on the highway, but he doesn't have his lodgings there. The hydroelectric power dam engineer is very comfortable, as if in his own domicile at the power plant, but he doesn't sleep there. The reality is, he reminds us of our being and the covering of being that gets done every day by our activities and actions in life. In other words, people forget about pure existence under nature because they're always walking around engaged all the time. Now, an essential part of living is engaging the others. But if there's never reflection, if there's never time for withdrawal, or very little time, like a 40-hour work week affords us very little time. You have to sleep sometime, you have to eat and take care of business. I don't know a solution to the problem, but maybe space the work time out. I don't know. It's up to you. Nonetheless, the reality is we live for a clock, and that cuts into our time and meditation. Humans invented the clock. Time is really not real. Nature has no clock. Nature has no time. No one wants to live under a clock. We all do it. We have to. It's the way it is. But our being under nature as ourselves gets covered up by this activity. And Heidegger says it is in with the way we dwell that everything shows itself, in the thinking we do and the building we do. And he tells us we're stewards of nature. He reminds us again, right like Aristotle, animals, we are the animal's animal. The plant's animal. I always like to say that. We're the animal's animal. Perfect. Where do I sign up? When can I start today? Nonetheless, he says the thinking we do and the building we do. And he wants us to be stewards of nature. He wants us to build within nature, not on top of it. And he describes a house in the Black Forest where it's built into the hillside to protect it from the winter winds with a steep roof. And there's plenty of wood, and there's plenty of food, and there's animals, and it's a utilitarian environment of a pagan farmer and his family, his wife and children. The reality is these people, he believes, live within nature and haven't built on top of it. They've built within it to survive it and be part of it. And how it becomes then is in the house in the Black Forest. One thing he points out extensively is he says there has to be a room for the totem bomb. And the totem bomb is a coffin. And he said, and the altar. And there shall be a, room in the house. And there is for the altar and the coffin. Because part of life is death. And death is part of life. And these things we know. And if we lose familiarity with it, we lose ourselves in time. And time is an illusion. You don't want to be losing yourself in someone else's illusions. Physically or otherwise, pun intended there, in case anybody's thinking about what I just did. Yeah. Nonetheless, how we dwell is based on how we build. So if we go around throwing buildings up, throwing up icons everywhere that aren't even part of nature but are on top of nature, we aren't really stewards of nature. Imagine this. If we took all the glass and the concrete and the steel and the asphalt away, what would be here? Wood structures, a lot of empty fields that used to be forests, but you'd see nature as it is, how we were here at the beginning of time as hunter-gatherers, as early farmers. In this part of Ohio, most parts of Ohio, agriculture is still the biggest industry. Although I still look at agriculture as more of earth religion than industry. You got to understand nature. And you better know how to pray to God, because hailstorms come. Hailstorm could take out your whole tobacco crop. Make your life miserable, man. Reality, farming's a hard job, but it shows us our core. It shows us human being with a capital B. Under nature with all the other beings, small case b, and us as beings, small case b. And we're interacting within nature, the animals, the plants, the rocks, all of it. That is where we see our being with the capital B. We get glimpses of it, but it's covered by a 40-hour work week. It's covered by language and our ability to talk about it. You only have to contemplate these things for a little while to figure out what's going on and how it can help you or not. I'm sure when you hear what I have to say, I think most people do think what I think. I just think people don't have the time or able, to get on here and do it. That's why I say it. A little commercial there for what I'm doing. I think It's called enlightenment, sharing. I've been doing this so long, it's time to share it more than just in a classroom or a lecture hall. Nonetheless, building, dwelling, and thinking, you need to read it from Heidegger. He tells us we're dwelling, we know our nature, we know nature itself without a clock, but it all gets covered by the things we do, the work we do, and the language we use to try to describe it. And then there's that group of people who are so caught up in the things we do and the language you use to describe it, they never reflect, almost never reflect. They just go from thing to thing. Very little thinking, very little contemplation. From my perspective, it would be a wasted life. You gotta contemplate. And I will say peace to overanalysis. On the other hand, you know what I mean? You gotta moderate what you're doing. Only you know. Right? Fahrenheit 451, right? If they're coming to burn the books, somebody better remember the pages and what they said. Peace, y'all. Take care.